Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Is there a free run in our country to those who want to insult the Hindu faith? Can those insulting Hindu gods and goddesses hide behind the license of creative freedom? Some would say it just appears so. Take on this particular instance of a massive controversy which is brewing after a documentary filmmaker tweeted a picture of her film's poster that is to be showcased in Toronto soon. The poster shows a woman dressed as goddess Kaali, and she's shown holding a cigarette in her hand. There's also the rainbow flag waving in the background to symbolize references to the LGBTQ community in the film. Now, the filmmaker may claim creative license and free speech, but can freedom of speech be absolute? Well, right-wing groups definitely don't feel so, which is why the filmmaker is facing legal heat. A complaint has been filed against her for hurting religious sentiments and denigrating Hindu deities. Her critics say she cannot be allowed to abuse one religion in this manner, and an example must be set by taking legal action against her. Listen in.
कितनी दुर्भाग्य की बात है, कितनी निंदनीय बात है कि इस गुप्त नवरात्रि के समय में मां काली का अपमान,
जिस तरह से मां काली का अपमान उन्होंने किया है, किसी और संप्रदाय के आराध्य देवों को उन्होंने ऐसा कुछ किया होता तो सार्गी हद हो जाता, सर तन से जुदा हो जाता.
What happened with the Kaali poster is that Leena created a hate poster against Hindu community. She is purposefully demeaning, denigrating, defaming one of the most revered deities of Hinduism, Kaali Ma.
Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, we live in times where we are seeing so much hate being spewed against a few individuals openly. That hate has cost many people their lives, whether you look at Udaipur or Amravati. In fact, killed in cold blood because the beliefs they held, and also outrage not just from radicals but even from opposition parties on the issue of Nupur Sharma. And tonight, these parties are maintaining pin drop silence. The question today is not one peep from any mainstream politician about how this Kaali poster can be offensive to the majority community in this country. No demands of an apology from the filmmaker, no calls for action, nothing against Leena, because these secularists possibly believe that this is all about freedom of expression. Well, rightly so. So the question we are asking on the Newshour tonight, why are liberals silent on this Kaali poster? That's the question, and that's the debate. Smoking Kaali Rao, that's the hashtag and the debate coming up on Platform.
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 1, on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining me on the debate tonight is Ishkaran Bhandari, advocate, Ashok Pandit, director, Bhavna Ramanna, actor, Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, Ravi Srivastava, political analyst. But my first question goes to Rahul Ishwar. Rahul Ishwar is a Hindu activist, and I want to ask you, Rahul Ishwar, is Kaali smoking just about creative liberty, or is it about sensitivity? Because creative liberty should be allowed. Why is there such a song and dance about this poster?
Navika, whenever there is liberty, it comes with responsibility. Whenever there is creativity, it comes with sensitivity. We live in a very diverse world, and unless we are respectful, sensitive to each other, how do we exist? Whether it is regarding Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sri Ram or Mahadev, or Ma Kaali, or Hazrat Aisha or Mother Mary, everybody should be treated with respect. That is what Indian culture teaches us. Along with that, that's what Indian Constitution and IPC also says. 153 and 295A are particularly in the statute book to tackle this issue of hate-mongering. What Leena did is, she wanted easy publicity. She knows that Hindu community is a soft target, so she can easily make a punch and get some eyeballs and get publicity. This is an absolutely uncalled for action. I hope serious case will be taken against her because this is a hate painting. And one more thing, as a proud Hindu activist, we went against M.F. Hussain in Kerala High Court. We said, M.F. Hussain is the pride of this nation, we respect him. But at the same point of time, there are some paintings we object to. We respect the painter, but we object the painting. Similarly, we could also file complaint against the absolutely abusive movie Innocence of Muslims, which portrays Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a bad manner. Please remember, mutual respect is only the way to go ahead. Sensitivity, respect, mutual respect. Otherwise, how do we exist in this world? And just one more line. Here she is purposefully using the word Kaali. She is carrying the trident Trishul. She is, particularly dressing as that person like Kaali and purposefully provoking Hindu communities. And I'm shocked to see none of the so-called liberals, so-called seculars usually come out for such things and say that this is wrong. Had it been against any other holy figure, I cannot even, say that with confidence. How can we imagine Holy Mother Mary like this or Hazrat Aisha like this? This is purposeful demeaning of Hindus because Hindus are soft targets and Leena wanted to gather easy publicity by denigrating. That's the reason why law should take its own course and 295A should apply.
Well, let me ask Bhavna here. Bhavna, is this a question of creative liberty? Because when there are objections to a film like Padmavat and the Karni Sena coming out, one can at least understand that, it's about a royal character of history and it's not really anything to do with anybody's religion. But we saw widespread opposition to that film as well. So this time around, when it happens to Kaali, everybody is taking it in the stride that this is also about creative freedom. Do you think there is a difference between the way films like Padmavat should be treated and films like Kaali, which deliberately, as Rahul Ishwar says, show this female character in the form of Kaali, the name of the film is Kaali, and then show her with a cigarette in her hand, which can be offensive to certain individuals following a certain religion?
Ma'am, I'm an artist myself. I'm a performing artist. I'm an actor too. So I live in Karnataka, and what happens is with the creative, more than creativity, I would like to say Padmavat is completely a different issue because it was a difference of opinion about the history that it was chosen by the director actually. So here the title is Kaali and then the lady is actually dressed up like Kaali and then she is holding a cigarette. But Kaali herself, she has of all the shades in her own personality. Kaali is mesmerized and she is admired because she is Kaali. She has all the shades into her. She has engraved everything into her. It's Kaal. She is a symbol of darkness. Not to forget that. And she is also a destroyer and she is also a saver. But then as an artist, I would just like to say one small little thing, ma'am. We have in Karnataka a lot of many folklores we have. In that where actually something called as the Yakshagana is there. Many of the things, all the folklore artists or any of the artists, I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer myself, also an actor, we have our own habits of probably drinking and smoking and everything. But then when we come on the stage, if at all I have to really portray a character of Lord Krishna or a Vishnu or Rama or anything, then you really on that point of time you become that character. But before that you're just yourself. Maybe the Kaali film, the documentary what they're showcasing, it could be about portraying a character of a woman who is probably doing this as a profession or she is an artist by passion and things like that. But individually, what she is, maybe she wants to portray that. I don't know, I haven't read the storyline or anything, but looking at the poster, it seems that way. So I don't think there is anything wrong in that, ma'am.
So you're saying benefit of doubt. So let me,
and it's not about hurting somebody's sentiments because I'm a Hindu myself.
Yeah. Well, Ashok Pandit, is it about creative freedom? Because it's the interpretation, she says. But is that a very simplistic way of looking at it? Because Leena, the filmmaker, is somebody who's tweeted. And she says, don't say hate Leena, actually say Leena, we love you, which means somewhere she almost anticipated, the kind of outrage that her film would create. And also her earlier tweets on Lord Ram, they're also there on her Twitter timeline. So is it a case of just creative expression, or is it a case of deliberately seeking publicity, seeking controversy?
Navika, I as a filmmaker condemn this act of Leena, and I don't consider her as a filmmaker, because filmmakers are not supposed to be hate mongers. Filmmakers have soul, they have heart, they respect all the religions, and anybody who paints or who presents a goddess or any religion gods idols in this way cannot be a filmmaker. So I refuse to call her a filmmaker. She is a hate monger. She is a person who's trying to create unrest in the country, and she is a person who's working on a particular agenda. Now coming to the actress who was talking before me, you see how they smartly get along and hide the realities of life. That here Ma Kaali is my goddess. You say that she is your goddess and you respect her. Now, if you wanted to show that actress smoking a cigarette before she acted as Kaali, she should have been in the form of that actress, not in the form of Mahakali. We pray Mahakali, we believe in Mahakali, and Mahakali is our goddess. Does this filmmaker have the guts to show Aisha and Mother Mary with a cigarette in her hand? तन से जुदा हो जाएगा अगर ये
No.
लीना जी जो है अगर उल्टा कुछ कर
let's not call just because somebody is hurting our religions, Ashok Pandit ji, just because somebody is hurting your religion, or Hindus, doesn't mean we can call out their. Then we'll be compounding the problem. We'll be compounding the problem because we are doing exactly what they are doing.
I as a filmmaker, Navika, is not for any kind of humiliation or insult to any kind of religion. As a filmmaker and as a citizen of the country, I have no right to do that. Any religion, any god, anybody I believe in, you don't have a right to do that. So, saying that she was an actress and she's a filmmaker, I don't have any license to abuse any religion, any god. I don't have a right to make a mockery of any religion for that matter. Now, the times have changed. People have become intelligent. People are not going to accept fun and humiliation of any god or belong to any religion for that matter. And we are sensitive people. We are educated people. We are filmmakers. We are artists. Why should we even take that route?
Exactly.
That create unhappiness in the minds, in the hearts of people belonging to one community. Why? What is the need?
Absolutely agree with you, Ashok Pandit there. And creativity is also about sensitivity. Unless you're sensitive, how can you be creative? But let me get in Tehseen Poonawala. Tehseen Poonawala, I just want to ask you. I mean, here we are, and there has been a situation in this country where a debate has, led to so much of controversy, so much of strife in this country. And that debate was also about, no intent to hurt anybody, but somebody is saying something, A, on a live debate, B, there is a freedom of expression, and C, there is a time taken in terms of deciding what people should say or not say, and distance yourself, but distancing it doesn't seem to be enough. And the Congress party has filed a case against me for that particular debate because I did not stop Nupur Sharma, or I did not chastise her, or I probably didn't come out of my screen and this thing. And today I'm duly apologetic to Ashok Pandit because I had to mute him. I had to mute him when he named gods of other faiths, because I don't know, it will be held against me and my channel at a time when he is making a statement out of his own volition. Now, that is the path that we have come to. And in this, I want to ask you, the film poster of Kaali comes out. I would have thought that the Congress party, which calls itself secular, would have filed an objection, given a statement saying that, no, this is not right, because it can hurt a few people, because they filed an FIR against me for just being the host of the show where a statement was made. It was made on other channels in other places, nothing against them, but on this channel and on this anchor, there are FIRs. Why is the Congress silent today, Tehseen Poonawalla?
Namaskar, Navika. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Namaskar to all my fellow panelists and to all your viewers. At the onset, I will beg your indulgence just for 90 seconds because we're living in extremely polarized times, and anything I say, I want it to be heard properly so that we can get to the sum and substance of it. To the first part of what you said, all of us are and believers of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and we should err on excess freedom of speech rather than less freedom of speech. But here are certain questions that I want to raise via your medium. While I firmly believe art, paintings, movies, books, and even news should never ever be censored. If you don't like an art, you don't like a painting, you don't like a book, don't watch it, don't read it, don't appreciate it, don't watch the movie, change the channel, shut the book. But can you censor it? No. But what does come out of the artist is the intention behind what the artist is saying. So what is the intention behind this particular person is what must come out.
No.
Is the intention that you must look at. Now point number 2, and this is very important and very pertinent. Now this is very important. Please don't block me because this will create misconstruction. This will create misconstruction. I will leave the debate. Please. This is very important.
Please do not speak over each other. Yeah, please do not speak over each other. Raise your hand.
This creates confusion.
After the person who's speaking finishes, I'll give you a chance to rebut. Because when you speak over each other, I'm the one who will be landing up in jail for things that I missed hearing. So please do not speak over each other. Exercise caution. We lived in troubled times. Yes, Tehseen Poonawalla, complete your statement.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And very unfortunate that Ashok interfered in between. So intention is the most important thing. Art with an intention of, say, putting a point of view across versus something like this, which is hurting sentiments, are two different things, and therefore that should be looked at and the intention should be got to. But I have another point to make, which is very important. While we appreciate art, say, on one side of a religion, I'm not going into which religion, we may appreciate art on one side. If we talk about freedom of art, freedom of expression, then that freedom must exist universally for all religion. You cannot say, I will appreciate art for one religion and I will not appreciate art for another religion. For another religion, you're not allowed to make art. No. Art then must be equal for everybody. Then questions must be raised for everybody. Creative liberty must be given to everybody. Something like France. You cannot have it for one religion, cannot have it for another religion. I'm sorry, that does not exist. That's not freedom of expression. That's selective freedom of expression, which I'm against. So I want to sum up my substance by saying, while we must look at the intention, and here the intention is not clear, it seems to me as publicity, as cheap internet gaining traction, but I don't think we should even indulge in slogans or want to arrest a person. But then if you're arguing for freedom of expression like the artist argued, it must be universally for all religion. It can't be for one and selectively not for the other. That is unacceptable.
So you haven't answered my question despite your long lecture, Tehseen. Would the Congress think it an apt case for filing an FIR? Yes or no? Just yes or no?
No, I don't know what the Congress will do, but personally, my belief is you should not file FIRs on media. This is my personal belief. If you don't like a news channel, in this particular case, don't watch it. If you don't like a movie, don't go and buy the tickets and watch it. Filing FIRs, taking political battles to police stations and courts, in my opinion, is politically not correct. And I don't agree with it. But again, I give them
so Kaali poster pe no compulsion for the Congress party to file an FIR, but on news channels, fair point, they want to file an FIR, great job. Ashok Pandit, respond to Tessie before I get in Ishkaran.
A small rebut, Navika. I don't expect anything from Congress and left liberals and people from my film industry who move around with placards calling for freedom of expression on Carter Road, on Janpath and other places and all that. So they will not come out because this agenda is not suiting them. My take on Mr. Tessin Poonawala ji's statement is that any piece of art, if you're calling it an art, then that art has no right to abuse any religion. That is not an art. That is hate mongering. I, as a Hindu, I, as a believer of Kaali, will not consider an image, a video, a shot showing Kaali, my goddess, smoking. I cannot accept that. So that's not a piece of art. It is absolutely a hate mongering and insult to my religion. Don't blame art. Art is a beautiful thing. Art is creation. Art is not hate mongering. How can you see Kaali with a cigarette in her hand? That is the image. What intentions are you talking about? I'm not interested in what the intention that filmmaker has at the background.
Exactly.
I'm not interested.
Exactly. So let me get in Ishkaran Bhandari. Ishkaran Bhandari.
And you have insulted my goddess, and I will not take it lying low. Nobody will take it lying low.
Well said. Ishkaran Bhandari, how do you judge intent? How do you judge intent? Now, IPC can be, intention to kill or not. You are a lawyer. How do you judge the intention from here? Number one. And number two, the fact that there are tweets that precede this particular case of the poster by the same filmmaker, does it make for a case that there seems to be a bias against a certain faith, and therefore creative freedom is being used to camouflage that particular point of view?
Navika ji, in India, it has been that when it comes to Hindu gods and goddesses, either it's alternative history, or it is creative freedom, or it is don't like it, don't watch it, or it is why aren't you liberal enough? How can your gods or goddesses be insulted by mere speech? Aren't gods powerful enough not to bother about what somebody writes or says? All that comes when it is a Hindu god or goddesses, or it will be we have to deep dive into the intent of the maker of a prima facie insulting, disrespectful poster, and poster is worth 1,000 words. I shudder to think what would be in the movie if the poster is this. So when it comes to Hindus, all these words come in. When it comes to other religions, you do not need the law. Please understand the history of 295A. There was no 295A when Mahashay Rajpal published a particular book. He got acquitted by the High Court. He was still butchered. That is when the Britishers had to bring the law. Now the law is there. Still a Kanhaiya Lal happens, or an Umesh happens, or a Kamlesh Tiwari happens. So the law of being there, not being there does not make a difference, because the end result is street power and violence. And India is now at a major inflection point if India has not already lost it. We cannot have a debate on freedom of speech and laws while there is mob violence, where people do dog whistle, where people promise rewards, where people paint targets on people's back or faces or bodies. And for that, we need decisive governmental action. Otherwise, we will all lose our freedom of speech, because then we will go to the lowest common denominator, where every insult will result in arrest, where every slightly disrespectful thing will result in multiple FIRs across the country. That is what we have been pushed into as a nation because of certain fundamentalists.
Well, hands going up on the panel. Tessin Poonawala, to you first, and then to Rahul Ishwar, before I get in Mr. Ravi Srivastava.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I absolutely concur with my friend Ishkaran, with whom mostly I disagree on. If freedom of expression exists, it should exist universally. It can't be selectively for one religion. I'm absolutely clear on that. Second thing, whether you like or you dislike, if somebody is offended like Ashok is, please pursue legal action. But I completely concur, mob violence cannot be the solution. It will not be the solution. And I think one reason why India is a tolerant society is because the majority of the citizens are tolerant citizens. So I think we should have, when we talk about freedom of expression, it must be across the board, across all religions, or it should not be there for anybody. I'm very clear on that position. That position of mine does not change.
But that position that you're talking about is theoretical. We've seen it as a theoretical position. Practically, it does not exist. Rahul Ishwar, does it exist practically?
Especially among liberals, it never exists for Hindus. They are never sensitive, they are never respectful. Why can't we have respect, sensitivity and responsibility have across the border? And let me remind my friends in Congress, it was Rajiv Gandhi who banned satanic verses even before the 50+ Muslim nations, including Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. And nobody, beyond the point said anything wrong, because we all respect prophets. That's the history of India. We all respect every faith. But the problem is, whenever it is Hindu, they say it is progressive. And my good friend Ishkar said it beautifully. It is progressive when it comes to Hindus. It is fashionable. You don't understand. You are not intellectual enough. You don't have that depth. So all these kind of justifications are given when it comes to Hindus. And they are being extra touchy with all the other religions. Our submission is only this. Give the equal respect to us. Are we less citizens?
Absolutely. Not a little more, not a little less. Same respect that you expect is what you should give. And Ravi Srivastava, let me ask you this question. Why is nobody raising the question that somebody who puts out just one little social media post saying, I support Nupur Sharma, they are getting threats. And you've seen those videos. You've seen this. I'm not saying condone. If she's hurt, legal process must follow. Whatever the law has to do, whatever agencies have to do, must do. But can we only go after one person who said something while the other one is actually threatening with death? And also if somebody has made a mistake of making a statement which has hurt sentiments, do you put a reward on her back? Do you begin to say and justify that सर तन से जुदा हो जाएगा, यही इसकी सजा है? तो ये सजाएं अब सड़क पे डिसाइड होंगी?
Navika, first of all, on somebody's statement, 2 people have been brutally killed in the country on same kind of IPC sections. One person is in the custody for next 14 days, but the person who made that first statement is still roaming scot-free. That has been remarked by the Honorable Supreme Court. Of course, that's not a judgment. First of all, creativity and hurting the religious sentiment has got a very thin line. I am not here supporting that particular poster, but what I am saying is everybody on this panel and outside are jumping too early on the particular poster only. We do not know what kind of a story is this. We do not know what kind of background is this. We do not know how come Kaali was moving on the Calcutta road, was holding that puff in the hand. We do not know the background. In fact, the person who has made the film has herself commented and tweeted that once you watch the film, you will love it. I do not know. I do not know. But there are OTT at least. There are 10 more films are there which have got the similar kind of depiction of the gods in a bad manner, and people do watch that. South India has always been like this, that they do not consider Ram as a god. It is an established fact. They do not celebrate Deepavali, they celebrate the next morning of the Deepavali. In my childhood, I spent in the Uttar Pradesh, and there have been Ram Leelas. Ram Leela has got all characters there, from Ram to Hanuman to Sita, everyone.
Is this logic? Is this logic? South India does not believe in Ram, so they can hurt Ram. So North India does not believe in certain religions, so they can insult. What kind of logic is this?
Navika, this is the problem. Navika, this is the problem. In sugar-coated intellectual language, they deem in Hindu sensibility. They deem in Hindu community. And Navika, it was Mahatma Gandhi who spoke about Ramarajya. It was Raghupati Raghava Rajaram, his favorite kirtan. So please don't deem in Ram. For a person like me, I consider Ram my God. I consider him my deity. So please have respect towards my sentiments. In saying in a very casual tone, this is not like this. And I will never say about any other faith. But will you dare ever say this about any holy figures regarding holy Islam or holy Christianity? See, this is where Hindus are provoked. See, whenever they cut us, they put salt into the wound and say that you should be tolerant enough to accept this. This is unacceptable. And even here, he's saying perhaps you will love the movie later.
Allow me to reply, please. Allow me to reply.
Yes, respond.
Allow me.
Respond. You don't get provoked. Hindus are provoked. It's easy to say that Rahul Ishwar, but we have to be responsible. We can't get provoked because that much self-control we need to have.
1 minute.
That much self-control we need to have. Yes, Mr. Srivastava.
You were not provoked when Maqbool Fida Hussain painted Sita. You were not provoked when in the United States the bikinis were printed with the...
Well, 1 minute.
I said, where were you? You were not...
1 minute. Don't speak over each other. Don't speak over each other. You cannot speak over each other because then I'm nobody to censor. But then what you will say, I will not be able to hear, and then it will create all kinds of legal problems. Well, if you want to know the facts, Mr. Ravi Srivastava, then Rahul Ishwar is the person who took the entire MF Hussain controversy to the courts and got a verdict. Rahul Ishwar, please enlighten the man on the panel.
We went to Honorable High Court and said, we respect the MF Hussain as a painter. He said, there is no debate. But at the same time, some of his paintings are very offensive. So we humbly requested Kerala High Court to cancel the Raja Ravi Award, and we won it. No, we are not against MF Hussain as a painter. He's a legend. But some of the paintings were crossing the line. So please remember, if there are moderate opposition, you should respect that. And regarding Hindu community, we are taken for a ride. We are considered soft targets. We are considered easy punch bags. That is absolutely unfortunate. As a Hindu activist, when I say Prophet Muhammad, I add Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That is Indian culture. That is Ashwad Kunstugi. But please don't deal in Sri Ram. Please don't deal Mata Kaali. Please don't deal in Sri Krishna. Please don't deal in Ayyappa. That's the only request.
Well, that's the point. That's the point. 1 minute, Miss Bhavna. Miss Bhavna, I want to come to you. 1 minute, Ravi Srivastava. No, Ravi Srivastava, you've had your say. Let me get in Bhavna ji. Bhavna, this whole thing about South Indians don't believe in Ram. So, they've said something. They don't believe in Ram. So we should see her tweet in that context. She may not, because she's, South Indian, she may not believe in Kaali as well. So we should see it in that context. Can we now begin to look at creativity with all of these so-called exceptions?
Ma'am, to start with, this land basically accepts believers and non-believers too. But just because she has made a film which showcases or portrays a Kaali in a different manner, just to have a first look at the poster, I don't think it makes us feel that she is a non-believer, one. And another thing is, there's been a lot of talk about how every religion should be respected, and then creative people should be very sensitive. Creative people are sensitive. That's when they can really think a little different than what others think. That's how they really think, because they're really, really sensitive. They are very emotional, they are sensitive. And another thing is, ma'am, I'll just give you one example, ma'am, of Miss Shabana Azmi portraying so many characters as a Hindu woman, where she had to really keep a bindi and kumkum on her mata too. What if she was really kind of given a bahishkara from her religion and things, so that then she couldn't be an artist at all? If this is how it goes on, then how do an artist exist in this land? Or how do the art exist? It's because art is beyond all this. That's what I believe in, because we are on one platform. We'll be, from all the believers will be there, then there is also non-believers. Not to forget that. We have non-believers too. But we are all together, and it's never we think of something of these things. So I don't think, yes ma'am.
Fair point, Ashok Pandit. Should we have such narrow outlook?
art.
Yeah. Should we have such a narrow outlook? Bhavna espouses the cause of broadening the outlook.
Navika ji, I would like to respond to Bhavna ji's statement. Now, she's mixing up playing different characters. Shamana ji must have played different characters. A lot of actors and actresses like Bhavna must be playing different characters. That's a different thing altogether. Whether I put Bindi, I don't put Bindi as a character. If I'm a widow, I'm not using a Bindi and Sindoor and all that. That's a different matter altogether. That depends on the director. That doesn't hurt anyone.
Sir, in
we are
their
talking
religion,
about
the religion that she is born in, it's an offense.
Who's our mother? And we are believers. See, Bhavna ji, there are two different things altogether. And this entire garb and the entire pretext of saying that artists are different is a farce. Artists are not different. Artists are like any other common man. They're all the same. There is no difference between an artist and a common man. Let's not be that arrogant of being different than the normal person.
I don't agree with you, sir. I don't agree with you at all.
Everybody to respect every religion.
It's not about being arrogant.
Ma Kali is my goddess. Ma Kali, I pray. Ma Kali, I believe in. I will not allow or I will not see Ma Kali with a cigarette in her hand and smoking that shot in a film. Whatever reasons you give, I as a believer of Ma Kali, I as a believer of Ram, I as a believer of Jesus, I as a believer of Prophet Muhammad, I will not want that such images be created for your benefits and for your publicity and for your well-beings. I don't think that these are artists. They are hate mongers. They are not artists.
So Tehseen Poonawalla, there has to be a line. Playing different roles, doesn't really have anything to do with the religion. Whereas depiction of Kaali, Ashok Pandit says, is something that plays with my faith.
That's right, and I respect what Ashok ji is saying, but please understand it. If there is a movie or say a news channel that you don't like, don't watch it. That's one part. If you're still offended, go and file a legal complaint, and that's the second part about it, and pursue it legally. But to say that, look, if I'm offended and therefore we should have less freedom of speech, I don't agree with that. Like I said earlier on, we must have more freedom of speech and err on the part of freedom of speech. But the freedom of speech, the intention behind it must be to bring reform, must not be to hurt people, must not be to hurt their sentiments. That I'm on page with Ashok ji. So if he's aggrieved, he should file legal action and take legal recourse. And I agree also that there should be no slogans that are provocative, whether it's Gaddaron ko goli maro or Sartan se juda. There is no space for that in our democracy. I agree with that as well.
Well, Ishkaran Bhandari, Guruji has spoken. How do you respond to his, today he's got enlightenment and he's giving gyan of this kind. So I don't know what to call him. To call him Guruji, saint, I don't know who I will be offending,
Navika, being with you.
Can I speak?
Navika, being with you is enlightening, and if I get into trouble, Ishkaran is going to save me. That's the fact.
No. Because of you, I might be taken to court and another FIR may come against me from your own party. But Ishkaran, yes.
Ishkaran will save both of us.
Since Tehseen is agreeing with me today, so I will just say that his idea of intent has no bearing under the law as it stands, because intent would be proven at the end of the trial. Police officer will register an FIR. You will spend your entire life fighting the case to prove your intent when the case closes. So let us be very clear. It is about a level playing field. As I said, the words like alternate history, intent, creative freedom, artists are sensitive and common people are very harsh. All that has no meaning under law. Either you have a level playing field, and more than that, the bigger problem is the street power. 295A did not exist at the time of Mahasaya Rajpal. 295 exists today. Still Kamlesh Tiwari happens. Still a Umesh happens. Still a Kanhaiya Lal happens. So that problem is to be addressed for us to be able to enjoy freedom of speech, which is what France did. I hope India as a system, as a government with institutions, go that path, because the other path is all of us, you, Navika, as an editor, all of us sitting here, and every citizen of India losing his right to free speech because everything can be deemed offensive.
Well, That's really the biggest question that arises, because we are facing an inflection point in our society. How is speech and creative freedom to be looked at? While we are all for free speech, freedom of expression, yet this has become arbitrary and applied selectively. Are there double standards? Is question that one section of the society is asking. On the other side, people are saying, well, there should not be restrictions to the freedom of speech and expression. And we are caught right in the middle of this entire controversy. While all of us in the 21st century believe in freedom of speech and freedom of expression, then what's the problem? The problem is only one, which is that the reasonable restrictions should not be applied selectively, and it should be a level playing field for all. That's where we leave this debate. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on this debate number 1. Taking a short break, on the other side,